It's good to be in Whitfield. Please have a seat. It is good to be in the Fighting Ninth with so many good friends. It was hard for Deb to get this started. Everybody was socializing. We're having so much fun. But Ann and I are so happy to be here with you. My wife Ann, the much better half of our political service team in New Hampshire. And it's great. You're going to hear from fantastic speakers today. Ann and I have been here. I got out Thursday night. She got out Friday morning. I did one event in Roanoke Thursday, 5 Friday, 6 yesterday. We're doing 4 today, finishing up in Franklin and Bedford. But it's so good to be here, and it's been so great to do a number of events this weekend with your next congressperson, 9th District's Anthony. We've had fun, we've had good food, we politicked, we played music 3 times. I've not debated, but had a joint appearance with my opponent over at Virginia Tech the other day, so we've got a lot of work done this weekend. But I think you all know there's a lot of work to do between now and November 6th, but if we do what we know how to do, we can send a very, very powerful message about who Virginia is and who Virginia isn't, about who our country is and who our country isn't. And I just want to say that the Democrats have the right message for our Commonwealth and our country this year. We've got the right candidates. Are you ready to send a big message on this? I want to thank my friend Deb Baum. It's not easy being a county or city chair, a CD chair. I was a chair at the national level. I tell you, I took years off my life. I get to go right past purgatory because, you know, if you've had a county chair experience, you've already been tested and tried, you can go right to the pearly gates. But Deb, thank you. And how about if we have any city or county chair, current or former, from the 9th, stand up right now. We want to give you all a big round of applause. All right? These are some great Democrats. Will you let me take a minute and tell you about my friend John McCain? Can I do this? And it will be emotional for me because we really are friends. I didn't know John McCain when I came to this. I knew John McCain, the legend. I didn't know John McCain, the man. And when I was at dinner in Abingdon last night, somebody at the next table said to me, "Hey, sad news, Senator McCain just died." I was really crushed, even though I'd been expecting it. I was really crushed. I came into the Senate and I asked to be on the Armed Services Committee. So important to Virginia. We have a child in the Marine Corps. John was the lead Republican at the time, not the chair. The chair was Carl Levin. We had a Democratic majority my first 2 years. My opening interaction with McCain, we were on the committee getting to know each other a little bit, was there was a hearing one day and he was going on and on about cost overruns on aircraft carriers all built in Virginia. And he was giving witnesses hell about this. And then it was my turn. And a lot of the cost overruns actually weren't at the shipyard in Virginia. People were building systems in New Jersey and elsewhere, and their costs were overrunning them, and they'd ship them to Virginia to install them. It wasn't because of the Virginia workers. And so I got the witnesses up, and I walked back through all the things that McCain was saying, and it was basically putting a puncture in every balloon he put up there and saying, "No, that wasn't it, that wasn't it, that one at this shipyard isn't great." And then McCain interrupted me and I said, "Hey, wait, your time's over. This is my time." I didn't realize I was getting into a fight. I didn't come prepared, but I wasn't going to back down either. And then he kept interrupting me. I said, "Mr. Chair, he's already had his time. This is my time." And Carl Levin had to ask him to settle down. And then he kept arguing with me. And I was brand new to the Senate. I thought, oh, here I am a freshman, and now I'm fighting with one of the lions of the Senate. And afterwards, I kind of went up to him and said, "Hey, I hope you didn't mind, but look, I got a point of view about this." And he just patted me on the back. He couldn't have been happier. McCain used to say, "A fight not joined is a fight not enjoyed." And that was like his motto. If you didn't fight back, I mean, heck, if you didn't fight back, what's the point? What's the point if you don't fight back? And we've had some good ones. Once I got interviewed by Gwen Eiffel on the NewsHour about something where McCain and I were fighting. They interviewed me in a studio, and then they interviewed him, and I didn't see the interview. But when it appeared that night, everybody started lighting up my texts and emails. McCain just called you a liar on TV. And I watched the clip, and Gwen Ifill said to McCain, well, but Senator Kaine just said this. That's a lie. Are you calling Senator Kaine a liar? No, I wouldn't call Tim a liar, but what he said was a lie. When I ran into them the next day, I said, hey, John, look, I just was saying what the Iraqi foreign minister told me. And he's saying it publicly. I mean, could be accurate or not, but I am saying exactly what I heard from the Iraqis on this. And he just patted me on the back and said, Tim, robust debate, robust debate. McCain was an amazing guy. One day he told us, the senators all got in a room, and he told us the story of his POW experience, including being tortured for long periods of time. He was in prison for a while and not tortured, but then they tried to let him out, and he wouldn't go until the other American POWs got out. And then they started to torture him. And as he said, he didn't give a lot of details, he just said, and then things got very bad for me for a very long time. He told a story about a guard who would come in the middle of the night. He had broken his shoulder and arm when he crash landed into the lake in Hanoi. And so very painfully, he could never lift his arm up above here, one of his arms. But at night they would tie his arms behind his back, very painfully, to kind of torture him. But there was a guard who'd come in, if he had the night shift. First thing he'd do is he'd come in and he'd loosen the ropes. And then before the end of his shift, he'd have to come back and tighten him up again because he didn't want everybody to know he was trying to help John out. On Christmas, they would let him out of solitary for like an hour to walk around. And he was walking that hour once on Christmas, and this guard came up and stood next to him, and with this shoe drew a cross on the ground to tell John that he was a Christian. And then he covered it over with his foot so nobody else would see it. Amazing guy. Amazing guy. Ann and I have a son who's in the Marines, and he graduated from the basic school, which is the training program John Edwards has been through for Marine officers. And it's about 200 people graduating, and it's packed with family members. And the Marine who's the MC is introducing dignitaries. So this is when I'm in the Senate on the Armed Services Committee. I'm sitting in the audience, and they introduce generals, and they say, we have a U.S. Senator here. And I was kind of feeling proud of myself. Senator John McCain is in the audience. Everybody stood up, big round of applause, but everybody's also looking around, where's John McCain? And I'm like, man, where's John McCain? John McCain wasn't there. And I realized afterwards, oh, they made a mistake. They meant to say me, Kaine, and they said John McCain. So the next day at the Armed Services Committee, I said to McCain, I said, hey, you won't believe my own son's graduation. They wouldn't even recognize me. They recognized Senator John McCain, and he just looked at me and said, I never knew a Marine who knew how to spell. Two last stories. McCain loved his office. He now is the chair of the Armed Services Committee. His office is right across from the hearing room. We're in there all the time working. He is the chair's chair. If every committee chair ran a committee like John McCain, this whole place would work so much better. Every year we write the defense bill. It's always the same way. He and Jack Reed, the Dem, who's the leader, who's a West Pointer, and McCain is an Annapolis guy, and that's like the oldest shtick in the book. All they do is table talk back and forth about how bad Annapolis and West Point are. But they do a bill with their staffs, they put it on the table, and then we sit around, 29 of us. Everybody makes their amendments. Amendment, discussion, answer questions, debate, vote. And you do that for days until nobody has any amendments left. It's not shutting somebody down. It's not trying to force your bill through. No, we will stay there at the table for days with McCain until everybody has offered everything they want, and then we have a vote. And no surprise, when you do it that way, you get to the end of it, and everybody's participated. And so we do this bill and put it out on the floor nearly unanimously every time. Great committee chair. But McCain's office is right across from the hearing room where we do these meetings, and he loves it. He's never wanted to move. Been there 25 years. The only office he liked better was John Kerry's because it had a view of the Capitol. Around the corner, just about 50 feet from his office, but it had a view of the Capitol. When John Kerry became Secretary of State, he moved around, and I got to move into McCain's office. Now, I'm way low on seniority. Others had a shot before me, but they turned it down because in the 25 years he'd been there, he never painted it. There were papers stacked everywhere. It kind of lacked curb appeal, but I could see that I think we could do a paint job and it would be fine. So I am really proud to have John McCain's office.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you the thing that I'll always remember most. I introduced Hillary Wednesday morning after the election in 2016 for her concession speech in New York. And I think it was the following Monday, the 7th was off that week, I am back in my office. First person who comes to see me, out of 100, 7, first person was McCain. Comes and he says, "Hey Tim, I'm the only one in this place that knows exactly how you feel. I've been on a national ticket and I've lost, and it's just the two of us. Some others have run in primaries or have talked about running, but in terms of being on a national ticket and losing, it's just the two of us. And I'm just here to tell you, when you have a real painful experience, the best thing to do is just go right back to work." I said, "John, here I am." And about every month or two in a committee, he'd say, "Tim, you following that advice I gave you?" I said, "I'm doing it." I'm going to feel that way Monday after a painful experience when I walk back into his old office. I'm going to have that same feeling. Best way to deal with a painful experience is go right back to work. Now, there's so much work to do, and you got a lot of fantastic speakers. You're going to have Anthony. I think we have Mark Herring and Justin coming. We got a great candidate, Carter Turner, right here, who's running for a special election in the House. My ticket mate, Anthony's ticket mate. We got Sam Rasool, Danica Rome, others are going to have a chance to speak. But I'll just tell you, and I've spoken this about to some of you over the last couple of days, my campaign's real simple: a Virginia that works for all. It's about Virginia. I don't represent D.C. to Virginia. I represent Virginia to D.C. And I get to travel around, and every day somebody says something like this to me: "Hey, Senator, did you know that we only spend less than 1% of our research on pediatric additions? Did you know that military spouse unemployment rates 3 to 5 times the national average?" Virginians tell me things that I didn't know. And then on my committees, Armed Services, Foreign Relations, Budget, I get to work to solve problems. That's fantastic. And the other thing I do is I take solutions. Virginians will tell me, "Hey, Senator, guess what? We want to build a med school right in downtown Roanoke, Virginia Tech and Curlie." This was when I was governor. "Can you help us fund it and work together with the legislature to get it built?" And John Edwards, we did that. And that's transforming Roanoke. I didn't come up with that solution, but somebody gave me a good solution, and they said, "Great, let's do it." So that's the first thing about my campaign: listening to Virginians and either trying to solve their problems or take their solutions and do more of them. It's about a Virginia that works. I'm a proud son of an iron worker and welder. I was an economic developer as a mayor, an economic developer as a governor. I want to make sure that people have meaningful work to do for themselves and their families, but also, work has a bigger meaning. We all have something to give in this world. It's about having a job and making a living, but it's also about having meaningful opportunities to give. And I think we've got to have policies, and nobody's smarter about this than Anthony. He's so smart about it. We have to have policies that really honor working people. And that means education and skills training from pre-K to post-grad and career and technical education. It means infrastructure so we can hire people and expand broadband and road and rail and rebuild schools. You hire people and you also raise your platform for success. It means fair wages. We're in a country where if you work full-time for minimum wage, and 2/3 of those who do are women, you're below the poverty level if you have a child. And what does that say about our values? A full-time worker below the poverty level? We got to have fair wages. And then finally, we have to have a fair tax policy. I voted against the tax bill that President Trump and the Republicans rushed through in 41 days because it had its priorities wrong. Deep permanent tax cuts for corporations, tiny temporary expiring tax cuts for people. Completely backwards. We can't have a tax code that treats corporations better than workers, or that treats investors better than those who make a living with wages and salaries. So that's the second aspect of the campaign. We got to value work. And the last part, and I'll conclude, is it's got to work for all. I am obsessed with the last two words in the Pledge of Allegiance: for all. And I'm obsessed with them because I don't think we're living in a moment now where the message from the top is a for all message. This president, it's always about fighting with somebody. Democrat, Republican, Omarosa, Jeff Sessions, Angela Merkel, Theresa May, Justin Trudeau, a Muslim, a Mexican. Always about fighting with somebody. Usually it's for me. it's just for me, or for a few, or for some, but we're for all people. That's what we say when we say the Pledge of Allegiance. And I did a little bit of study about this. Some of you know the story of the pledge, but it was a minister named Francis Bellamy in New England in the 1890s, wanted to start a social movement. And this was the movement. If you ever wondered about the pledge, he wanted to write a pledge that would express the essence of being an American. He wanted every child to say it in every classroom, in every school, every day in the United States. And he wanted them to say it to a flag on the wall. And that's why we do it. It took him 15 years to get this done. Letters to the editor, recruiting ministers in other states. 15 years later, now this was a tradition that's lasted more than a century, and we still do it. He could have ended the pledge, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice, period. That would have been a good pledge, right? Pledging to a flag representing a nation that was indivisible, under God, with liberty and justice. That would have been a good pledge, but it wouldn't have been a perfect pledge. He was smart enough to add those last two words, for all. Because if it's not working for all, it's not working. If it's not working for all, we've got more work to do. And I think we know it's not working for all, so we got more work to do. Last thing I want to say is I want to prove to you you're on the right team. We're here at Acres of Democrats, and I want to tell you in 2018, it's Democrats who are the for all people. Yeah. We are the for all people. Absolutely. And I'm going to use John and Sam and Mark, and I don't know if Justin's here yet. I'm going to use you guys as my exhibit A on this, to prove that Democrats are for all people. You all worked so hard last year. We had a big win in Virginia in November, swept the statewide offices with Ralph and Justin and Mark, won more seats in the House than we won since 1872. But it wasn't the winning that mattered. I mean, you got active and we won, but then after winning, what happens? Well, Democrats go to Richmond, and Democrats battle a multi-year battle to finally complete and expand Medicaid. And some Republicans joined once they decided, right? But Senator Edwards and our delegates, Sam and Danica and Mark and the administration, finally you got to the end of that battle. And in May, when you passed that law to expand health insurance, I would argue the General Assembly started in 1619. It's been going for 399 years. There has never been a vote in the history of the General Assembly that did more good for more people than that vote that these guys, these Democrats, finally made happen in May of this year. And they knew something. And they knew something when they cast that vote. They knew that of the 400,000 people who got health insurance, were they all Democrats? No way. No way. You can look at where they are. Half of them are not Democrats. Half of them probably have never voted for a Democrat. Many of them will never vote for a Democrat. Many of them will never even say thank you. They will never even say thank you to those who worked so hard for so long to make sure that they and their families had health insurance. So how did that make these guys feel when they were working so hard? Did they resent it? Hell no. They felt fantastic. If you are a Virginian, you are my neighbor. I am commanded to love my neighbor. I don't get a pass whether my neighbor likes me or not. This is who these guys are. This is who the Democratic... We will do heavy lifting over a long period of time to help you out, to lighten your path along the road, to ease your burden, whether or not you support us, because that's the kind of people we are. That's what a for-all party is about. That's the values we hold dear. How does that make you feel about being a Democrat? And then I'll give you the contrast, because I saw it up close and personal. In July of 2019, I stood on the floor of the Senate. It was 2:30 in the morning, and my friend who passed last night played a really important role in this. President Trump came into office. I want to get rid of Obamacare on day one because it's got Obama's name on it. He doesn't understand what this is, but he understands it's an accomplishment of President Obama. So I want to get rid of it. And that was day one. That was all they wanted to do. They were supposed to do a budget in April or May. They said, we're not doing a budget. We'll push that back 6 months. It was all about getting rid of the Affordable Care Act. And they worked on it persistently, through the House. Now it's in the Senate. Okay, now it's on the Senate floor. Now we're going to have the vote. All the Dems are together, all 48. We need 3 Republicans. Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski are with us, and they're with us all the way along. But with John McCain, John had been voting with the Republicans on some of the motions. And in our caucus, Chuck Schumer and others were kind of depressed. We don't think John's with us. And I said, I don't know that John is with you, but I'll tell you this. He just got diagnosed with glioblastoma. He just spent time in a hospital with a lot of sick people. I just cannot see my friend John McCain voting to take health insurance away from millions of people. I just cannot see it. Maybe you might be right. I mean, you're reading but I just cannot see it. So we're there on the floor, and it's 2:30 in the morning. And John comes in, most electric moment ever in my 24 years in politics. He walks up, Ann knows this, there's about 3 of us up front, it's about 10 minutes till the vote. He walks up and says, I'm with you guys. He goes and sits down. Vice President Pence is in the chair presiding to break the tie, because it was 50-50, he was going to break the tie. Pence goes over to talk to McCain. Big smile on his face. John, it was so good to have you back. Really excited to have your support on this. And don't worry if you don't like it, we'll fix it later. Go ahead and vote for it. But I could see Pence's face go from a big smile, progressively a kind of a forced smile, and not a smile at all. And then McConnell and everybody is over there trying to convince McCain. And McCain isn't budging. And then they tell him he's got to go out and take a phone call from the commander-in-chief who wants to tell him what to do. Note to self, don't try to tell John McCain what to do. McCain comes back. This is probably the longest 10 minutes in my life. Because I had gone back over to my side of the Senate floor and I said, McCain says he's with us. Don't keep it under your edge. McCain says he's with us. They call the vote. They're going through the roll call. It's the A's, the B's, the C's, the K's. We get to the M's and McCain's out of the room. He's out doing a second call with Trump. So they skip by him. We're getting, and then he walks back in. It's like that scene from Gladiator. Is it a thumbs up or a thumbs down? And he comes and just thumbs down. Millions of people kept their health care because John McCain stood up. But I guess the point that I want to make to you is when John and Sam and Danica and Mark and the team were working so hard to provide health care for people, even who weren't their supporters, I was watching my colleagues, the bill that was the repeal bill would have probably taken health insurance away from 20 million, at least half were Republicans. Could anything be any clearer? A party willing to do tough, politically difficult, persistent, heavy lifting to do something really important even for people who wouldn't support us versus a party whose main goal was to work month after month after month and take health insurance away from their own voters. We're not talking about naming a post office here. We're not talking about something minor. I mean, next to your loved ones, your health is the most important thing in your life. If a party will play a game with your health, they will play a game with anything. If a party will go to bat for your health, you can count on them for anything. That's who Democrats are in 2018. That's why this nation needs a blue wave. That's why